Things you should know if you're buying a condo in Panama City Beach, Florida in 2023. Let's jump straight into it. Okay, you guys, if you want to check the previous video we did of things you need to know if you're buying a condo, that has a lot more topics that I'm going to cover today. You can check the cards area up above for that video, but we're going to build on that today. You guys may be familiar with the tragedy that happened with the Surfside condominium that collapsed, and as a result of that, some new legislation has come out to try and govern a little bit better on the repairs that should be taking place on building. With this new legislation, there is now requirements for milestone inspections on buildings to be performed, and then thus appropriate reserves be in place to take care of such repairs. So let's take a look at the seller's real property disclosure statement that was just updated by Coldwell Banker Realty and Florida Realtors. So if you look at this section here in yellow, feel free to pause the video and take a look at this here. But what we've seen historically is that a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but some HOAs, depending on the buildings and depending on the situation of the majority of the owners in the building, they have chosen to postpone having 100% reserves on hand. So maybe they'll vote maybe for 80% on their reserves, which could lead to deferred maintenance issues that could lead to issues like what happened, unfortunately, at Surfside. So with this new legislation and how it's going to affect condominiums, specifically in Panama City Beach, I was pretty nervous about this at first because HOAs that didn't have enough reserves, if they had milestone inspections that uncovered some big repairs that were needed, at first it appeared that they would only have a couple of years to try and get that. And the only way to get that would be through special assessments. And if there's a large enough special assessment in these buildings with too short a time frame to get these milestone inspections done with repairs to be planned, that could really impact the economy of a building. However, now that let's go back to the document here and just let's read it. And if we're reading this properly, most of the condominiums that are in Panama City Beach will have quite a bit of time to rectify any shortage of reserves. Let's take a look. So going back to this yellow highlighted area, I'm going to read here. Florida law also requires that all condominium and cooperative buildings, including Fontainebleau with cooperative buildings, in Florida that are 3 stories or more in height and 30 years of age, 25 years of age, if within 3 miles of the coastline. That pretty much applies to every condominium in Panama City Beach. Undergo a milestone inspection of the building's structural integrity by a licensed architect or engineer every 10 years. In addition, an association must have a structural integrity reserve study every 10 years for each building, regardless of the age of the building. Associations existing on or before July 1st, 2022, that are controlled by unit owners must complete the reserve study no later than December 31st, 2024. The cost of the milestone inspection and reserve study increases in reserves, as well as any mandatory or voluntary work performed or to be performed could result in special assessments and or higher recurring maintenance fees or expenses for each unit owner. Prospective purchasers who have entered into a contract to purchase a condominium unit are entitled, at seller's expense, to copies of the inspector prepared summary of the milestone inspection and the most recent reserve study, or a statement that the reserve study has not been completed. This notice is not intended as legal advice or a complete description of any applicable laws. Main takeaway from this video is to educate buyers that are going into purchase condominiums over the next decade to make sure you take a look at the health of the HOA. And how you can do that is by getting the contact information from the HOA. Yes, it's important to ask your agent or ask the seller's agent how the health of the HOA is and what the financials look like, but it's very important as the buyer yourself to go ahead and verify that information personally by talking to the HOA yourself and getting those financials. And if everything is on track, hopefully over the next 10 years or so, this won't be an issue. If And this is going out. This is a plea to the owners out there. Please plan accordingly over the time limit for your building that is required and in place to have proper funds on hand for any repairs that may be needed as these inspections come up, these milestone inspections. So keep an eye out, you guys. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a big panic about meeting these requirements. There is plenty of time, at least for the Panama City Beach market. As a majority, there's going to be some older buildings that might have to take a look at this in the more immediate future. But if you guys like this kind of content, please hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button. Of course, if you would love to buy or sell a condo in the Bay County, Panama City Beach area, give me a call. I'd love to help you with that as well. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye for now.